What if I told you there are places in the universe where the wind blows at speeds faster than a bullet? Places where the rain is made of glass, falling sideways at thousands of miles per hour. Places where the very ground beneath your feet would melt your bones before you even had a chance to touch it. We think we understand danger. We've survived earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanic eruptions. But we are children playing in a sandbox, completely unaware of the cosmic monsters lurking just beyond our backyard. Tonight, we are going on a journey to the most terrifying places scientists have ever discovered. And I promise you, after this, you will look at the night sky very, very differently. Let's start close to home. Really close, like right next door. Venus, our sister planet, almost the exact same size as Earth, same mass, same composition. For decades, science fiction dreamed of Venus as a paradise world, a jungle planet, a place of beauty and mystery. They couldn't have been more wrong. Venus is hell, and I don't use that word lightly. The surface temperature on Venus hovers around 900 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to melt lead. Hot enough that the few spacecraft we've managed to land there survived for only minutes before being cooked and crushed into silence. But the heat is just the beginning. The atmosphere of Venus is 90 times thicker than Earth's. Imagine standing at the bottom of the deepest ocean. That's the pressure you'd feel. And that atmosphere, it's made almost entirely of carbon dioxide with clouds of sulfuric acid, pure, concentrated battery acid raining down from the sky. The Russians landed probes there in the 1970s and 80s. They sent back images for a few moments of a flat, brown, desolate landscape under a sky the color of burnt orange. And then, nothing. The probes melted. They actually melted. But Venus is just the beginning of our tour. It's the warm-up act, because if you think a planet that rains acid is bad, wait until you meet the gas giants. Let's fly out to Jupiter, the king of planets, a world so massive it almost became a star itself, and hanging in its orbit like a cosmic necklace are dozens of moons. But the planet itself is a nightmare wrapped in a mystery. Jupiter has a storm, just one storm. It's called the Great Red Spot, and it has been raging for at least 400 years, probably longer. This storm is so large you could drop the entire Earth into it, and the Earth would just disappear. It would be a tiny speck swallowed by an ocean of swirling, poisonous gas. The winds inside that storm reach 400 miles per hour. That's faster than any tornado ever recorded on Earth. And it just keeps going forever. But Jupiter has another secret, a terrifying secret. It's called its magnetic field. Jupiter's magnetic field is 20,000 times stronger than Earth's. It stretches out into space for millions of miles, creating radiation belts so intense that they would kill an unprotected human instantly. If you could stand on the surface of Jupiter, which you can't because it has no solid surface, but if you could, the radiation would deliver a lethal dose in less than 1 second. Your cells would simply come apart. Now, let's go further. Let's leave our solar system entirely. Because as bad as Venus and Jupiter are, they are nothing compared to what's waiting for us out there, in the dark, between the stars. Astronomers have discovered a planet they call HD 189733b. It's a beautiful name for a beautiful world, right? Wrong. HD 189733b is blue, a deep, vibrant, beautiful cobalt blue. When scientists first saw it, they got excited. A blue planet, just like Earth, maybe oceans, maybe life. Then they looked closer. They analyzed its atmosphere, and they discovered what makes it blue. It's not water, it's glass, silicate particles. The sky on HD 189733b is filled with tiny particles of glass, and the winds there? The winds blow at 5,400 miles per hour. That's 7 times the speed of sound. So imagine this, you're standing on a planet, if you could stand there, and the sky is blue and beautiful, and then the wind hits you. And it's not wind like we know it. It's a hurricane of glass shards, moving faster than a bullet, tearing apart absolutely everything in its path. It rains glass sideways on this world. It's the most beautiful death imaginable. And then there's the planet that shouldn't exist, TRES 2b. Astronomers call it the darkest planet ever discovered. It reflects less than 1% of all the light that hits it. Less light than a lump of coal, less light than black acrylic paint. This planet is literally blacker than black. Why? Because its atmosphere is filled with light-absorbing chemicals like vaporized sodium and potassium and titanium oxide. It absorbs almost all the light that reaches it. Imagine being there. You're orbiting a star. You should see light. You should see your surroundings, but you see nothing. Absolute, total, complete darkness. The kind of darkness that feels like a physical presence. The kind of darkness that makes you doubt your own existence. But let's talk about heat. We mentioned Venus is hot, but Venus is an ice cube compared to some worlds. There's a planet called WASP-12b. It orbits so close to its star that its surface temperature reaches 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to tear molecules apart. And that's exactly what's happening. The gravity of its star is so intense that it's literally ripping the planet apart. WASP-12b is being eaten alive. It's streaming out behind it like a cosmic comet tail of its own destruction. In a few million years, it will be completely gone, devoured by its own sun. Then there's the planet that rains rocks, Corot 7b. On one side, it's permanently facing its star, with temperatures hot enough to vaporize rock. On the other side, permanent night, cold enough to freeze almost anything. And in between, the atmosphere. The rock vaporized on the hot side gets carried by winds to the cold side, where it condenses and falls as rock rain. Imagine standing there, watching pebbles and boulders falling from the sky like rain. It's not water, it's stone. But maybe the most terrifying planet of all isn't hot. Maybe it's cold. OGLE 2005 BLG 390LB. A mouthful of a name for a world that is basically a frozen hellscape. This planet is 5 times the size of Earth, but its surface temperature is minus 364 degrees Fahrenheit. That's colder than Antarctica, colder than dry ice. On this world, the atmosphere itself would freeze and fall to the ground as snow, but not water snow, nitrogen snow, carbon dioxide snow. You would be frozen solid in seconds and then buried under falling frozen air. And here's the thing about all these planets. They're real. They're not science fiction. They're not dreams from a writer's imagination. They are actual places discovered by actual scientists using actual telescopes and actual data. We have names for them. We have coordinates. We know where they are. We just can't go there. Not yet. But wait, we haven't talked about the worst one yet. The one that keeps astronomers awake at night. The one that shouldn't exist, but does. The rogue planet. Most planets orbit a star. They have a sun. They have light. They have warmth. But astronomers have discovered planets that don't orbit any star. They call them rogue planets. They drift through the darkness of interstellar space, alone, forever, with no sun to light their sky. Imagine that. Imagine a world in permanent, absolute, eternal night. No sunrise, no sunset, just endless, crushing darkness for billions of years. The temperature on these worlds is just a few degrees above absolute zero, the coldest possible temperature in the universe. Nothing moves, nothing lives, nothing happens, just darkness and cold forever. And here's the really terrifying part. Scientists estimate there could be billions of these rogue planets in our galaxy alone. Billions of worlds drifting in the dark, completely invisible to us, passing through the void between the stars. Some of them might be Earth-sized. Some might have oceans, frozen solid billions of years ago. Some might have atmospheres, frozen and fallen to the ground. And they're out there right now, passing us in the night, completely undetectable. But let's come back to the ones we can see. Let's talk about the planet with the most violent weather in the known universe, HD 80606b. This planet has an orbit that's incredibly elongated. For most of its year, it's far from its star, cold and quiet. But then, once every 111 days, it swings in close, really close, and in just a few hours, its temperature skyrockets from freezing to thousands of degrees. The atmosphere can't keep up. It creates storms so violent that they circle the entire planet in hours. Winds that would strip the skin off your bones, heat that would cook you alive. And then, just as quickly, it swings away again, and everything freezes solid until the next pass. Imagine living there. Imagine having a year that's just 111 days long, but 110 of those days are frozen hell, and one day is inferno. One day when your world becomes a star for a few hours. One day when the sky itself catches fire. And then there's the planet that's being evaporated by its star, Gliese 436b. This planet should be frozen. It's far from its star, but it's not. Why? Because of an effect called tidal heating. The gravity of its star and neighboring planets squeeze it and stretch it, creating internal heat. So this planet has surface temperatures of 800 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's covered in ice. Not water ice, Ice X, a form of high-pressure ice that stays solid even at those temperatures. It's a planet covered in burning ice. Ice so hot it would sear your flesh, but still solid, still frozen. It shouldn't exist, but it does. Now I want to tell you about a discovery that made scientists question everything they knew about planets. Kepler 70b. This planet orbits its star so closely that its surface temperature is over 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hotter than the surface of the Sun. The star itself is cooler than this planet. The planet is literally hotter than its own Sun. How is that possible? Because it's the leftover core of a gas giant that was swallowed by its star and then spat back out as the star died. It's a zombie planet. A world that died, was consumed, and then reborn from the dead, hotter than hell itself. And then there's the planet with the most extreme seasons in the universe, Kepler 432b. This planet is 6 times the mass of Jupiter, but it's on a suicide mission. Its orbit is taking it closer and closer to its star with every pass. In a few million years, it will plunge into its sun and be destroyed. But until then, its seasons are dramatic. When it's far from its star, it's cold. When it's close, its atmosphere expands so dramatically that the planet swells to enormous size. It breathes, it pulses, it's alive with destruction.
But maybe the most terrifying thing about all these planets isn't what they are, it's what they represent. Every single one of these worlds is a reminder that Earth is special, that we are rare, that the conditions that allow life to exist are not common. They're precious, they're fragile, and they're surrounded by a universe that is actively trying to kill anything that lives. Think about it. Out of thousands of planets we've discovered, we haven't found one yet that could support human life without technology. Not one. Venus is hell. Mars is a frozen desert. The gas giants are pressure cookers of poison. The exoplanets are glass storms and burning ice and eternal darkness. We are alone, not in the sense that there's no other life out there, but alone in the sense that we live on an island of safety in an ocean of death. Every direction we look, every star we point our telescopes at, we find new and creative ways for the universe to destroy things. And that brings us to the most dangerous planet of all, the one that hasn't been discovered yet, the one that might be heading our way. Astronomers have found evidence that there might be a massive planet, maybe 10 times the size of Earth, orbiting far beyond Pluto. They call it Planet 9. And if it exists, if it's real, its orbit is so huge that it takes 10 to 20,000 years to go around the Sun once. And sometimes, maybe, that orbit brings it close enough to disturb the comets in the Oort cloud, close enough to send a rain of death toward the inner solar system. Imagine that. A planet so far away we can barely detect it, but so massive it could change the destiny of life on Earth. It's out there, maybe, waiting, silent, dark, completing its slow, endless orbit. And one day, far in the future, it might swing by and say hello. And if it does, if its gravity nudges just one big comet our way, everything changes. But let's not end on a note of fear. Let's end on a note of wonder. Yes, these planets are terrifying. Yes, they would kill you in an instant in ways you can't imagine. But they're also beautiful. They're also amazing. They show us the incredible creativity of the universe. They show us that reality is stranger and more wonderful than anything we could invent. Think about a planet that rains glass. Think about a planet blacker than coal. Think about a planet made of burning ice. These aren't just scientific discoveries, they're poems. They're works of art written by the universe itself.
And we get to see them. We here on this tiny blue dot, in this brief moment of history, we get to look out into the cosmos and see these wonders. We get to be the eyes of humanity, staring into the darkness and finding beauty in the terror. So the next time you look up at the night sky, remember, every star you see might have planets, and those planets might be hellish, they might be frozen, they might be burning, they might be dark beyond imagination. But they're out there, waiting, and we're just beginning to find them. The most dangerous planets in the universe. We've found some, but the most dangerous one, the most extreme one, the one that will rewrite the textbooks, it's still out there, waiting to be discovered. And when we find it, when some young astronomer staying late at the telescope sees that first flicker of something impossible, the universe will get a little bit bigger, and a little bit stranger, and a little bit more terrifying. And I, for one, can't wait.